Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we discuss the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football. As always, I'm your host, Jeremiah Martinez, and I'm here for another action-packed show for you guys today. And, well, it looks like the Marshawn Lynch sweepstakes kind of has unofficially begun. And there has been a new team that has generated interest among Lynch. That is none other than the New England Patriots. The Marshawn Lynch, there's a report that Beast Mode would like to go to New England if all the talks to join the Oakland Raiders collapse. So, it looks like that if everything goes wrong with the Oakland Raiders in Beast Mode, we could actually see Marshawn Lynch in a Patriots uniform. And, the thought of that image really kind of scares me. I am not going to lie. It really does. But it kind of brings me to the question, when Agent Pearson, he had a visit with the Patriots last week. They worked them out and all that. Now, it looks like they can potentially have Marshawn Lynch. But, honestly, when you're the Patriots, when you're the front office, do you really want to sign Marshawn Lynch, an aging, a guy that hasn't even played football in a year? So, does it make sense for the Patriots to do that? I can understand them, being involved with talks with Adrian Peterson, but do the Patriots, do they have to take a flyer on Marshawn Lynch, or should they just address that need in the draft? And I think that's what they're going to do. I think the Patriots are going to address that need in the draft. There may be a chance that LeGarrette Blount could come back, maybe for a cheaper deal than anticipated. That could still happen. Could still very, very happen. But, the thought of Marshawn Lynch in a Patriots uniform, really, it really scares me a little bit. And I'm not here to say, the Patriots, they're this quote-unquote super team. They're not. They just added a few guys. But, let's just say that hypothetically New England and Marshawn were interested in each other. I could definitely see it happening, but I don't know if it's very likely. I still think the team that most likely will probably better fit Marshawn Lynch is basically the Oakland Raiders. I think they can use him the right way, and they have the perfect depth. And don't get me wrong, the Patriots, they got 500 running backs there that they can use. So I don't think the Patriots need Lynch as much as the Raiders need Lynch. Because the Raiders, they actually do need him. I do think they do. Patriots, they really don't. I don't think they do. Well, this report, it was by Jeff Howe of the Boston Herald. And then Pro Football Talk, Mike Floriano noted that the Seahawks still own the contract rights to Marshawn Lynch. So right now, Marshawn Lynch is still a Seattle Seahawk if he were to come back. So any team that is interested in Marshawn Lynch will have to either trade for him. They have to send some type of compensation in order for Marshawn Lynch to come to their team. And, this report of Marshawn Lynch expressing interest was very, he privately expressed interest in playing for the Patriots if the talks with the Raiders fall through. And it looks like, right now, it's 70% likely. I would say probably 80% that Marshawn Lynch is going to play for the Raiders next year. It hasn't been official yet. but it's also that other 20% that Lynch could be interested. So I think that the Patriots will be open-minded about bringing in Lynch. I don't think the Patriots need Marshawn Lynch as much as the Raiders do. I don't think they do. But I can definitely see it happening, and it's just a scary thought to me. And, no matter what team Marshawn Lynch goes to, he's not going to be that 1,000-yard rusher. He's not going to get you 100 yards a game. He's not going to carry the ball like 20 to 30 times like he used to back in his prime. He mainly is. He's now kind of like the point of his career where he can, if he decides to come back, he'll be like someone that can bring a presence to the team, especially a personality to the team that can score touchdowns from the red zone. And, Marshawn Lynch, he doesn't really talk to the media anyway. So, from that standpoint, I do think that the Patriots don't mind that part. Because, when you see Bill Belichick, when you see him in the media, he's pretty much as generic as ever. He doesn't say a lot. He gives a lot of generic answers. When you hear Tom Brady, he kind of gives the same thing. Marshawn Lynch, he doesn't even talk to the media. He just says a statement over and over again. So the fact that Marshawn Lynch doesn't really talk to the media, I can definitely see the Patriots being a really kind of a good fit. But I think right now the team that's really fits him the best is the Oakland Raiders. So now, no matter how much I talk about this, Marshawn Lynch is still Seattle Seahawks. He's still a Seattle Seahawks. And, the Patriots, I did mention earlier, did work out Adrian Peterson last week. I thought this was something that could have happened as a potential signing. Adrian Peterson left without a contract. And, as of now, the Patriots kind of have a need as a starting running back. Because, when you look at the roster now, they signed Rex Burkhead. They still got James White. Still got Dion Lewis. LeGarrette Blount, he's still a free agent. He can actually possibly come back. But, he is over 30 now. And he's not a good 30. Plus, he doesn't have the big name like Lynch and Adrian Peterson do. So I do think the perfect team, the perfect player I can really imagine the Patriots. The running back I can see going to the Patriots in the draft. Probably Christian McCaffrey, and I know there's going to be a lot of jokes out there. Either Christian McCaffrey. I could definitely see Joe Mixon going to New England. It's a perfect locker room for him to be in an environment like that, especially to start your career. Because there's no way they're getting Leonard Fournette, who I will talk about later on the show. I don't see them going for Dalvin Cook. He may be gone by then. But I like Christian McCaffrey and Joe Mixon in New England. I think the Patriots could use McCaffrey's strengths. Remember, because he's a returner, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he can run. So I do think that's a perfect team that can use his strengths. I can definitely see Joe Mixon there. He is someone that has had a lot of trouble since the past year. He's been in the public eye for his incident when he was a freshman at that Oklahoma bar. So him being in that type of environment would definitely help Joe Mixon. But as of now, we know the Patriots, they've shown that they don't really need that superstar running back. They've done it last year. I know LeGarrette Blount had like 18 touchdowns, but he's not a superstar. So, Marshawn Lynch, I can see him going to the Patriots, but I don't know if the Patriots really do need him. I don't know if the Patriots need Adrian Peterson. This is a team that just won the Super Bowl. And I know Tom Brady's getting older. and all that, but I still think he can play at a high level next year. But who knows? We may be wrong. But I think for the Patriots to address that running back position, I think they should do it in the draft. I do like McCaffrey and Joe Mixon there. I think Joe Mixon, that can be the best spot for him to start his NFL career. McCaffrey, he definitely could be used properly if he were to go to New England. As of now, Adrian Peterson's still free agent. Marshawn Lynch is still retired. And it looks like there's really nothing going on for both of those guys as of right now. We still haven't heard anything, but you never know. Things can change within the next 24 hours. All right, well, I'm going to take my first break, and when I get back, I'm going to talk about the NFL draft and what Myles Garrett said about the Browns if they were to pass on him, as well as discussing Leonard Fournette as a potential top 5, maybe number 1 pick. All right, we'll discuss all those things when I return to Going to Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back to Going to Media Concepts Football Podcast. And in the interview with ESPN The Magazine, the number 1 overall prospect in this year's NFL Draft, Myles Garrett, says he'll punish the Cleveland Browns if he's not selected number 1 overall later this month. He vowed to get revenge if he is not the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And, when ESPN The Magazine if they asked him why he should be at the top selection in the draft, Myles Garrett said he'll take being passed over as a personal slight to fuel his success in the league. And this is what he told. He said, quote, "I'm just going to make plays and bring a good atmosphere to your organization, and I'm going to start winning and winning now. And because if you don't draft me number 1, I will punish your team for the next 10 to 12 years. I'll knock your quarterback out of the game every time we play you, and I'll have to kick the hell out of number 1, whoever it is." So, it looks like that if Myles Garrett, if he's passed on as a number 1 overall pick, he has definitely shown that he'll be mad about it. But I got a question. Is Myles Garrett, is he the for sure number 1 overall pick? Is he a can't miss prospect? And I've talked about this before. When you looked at his combine numbers, and they are really good. They're freakishly good. I think he's, for the Cleveland Browns, I think he's someone that has a can't miss prospect right now in this draft. I really do think he's one of those generational talents. I do think he can definitely impact the defense, kind of like how J.J. Watt has done in Houston. I think he can be one of those players for Cleveland. And for Cleveland to start winning, they need players that can help them win. And they can start it with Myles Garrett. But, as you know, we are talking about the Cleveland Browns. They haven't had success in the first round at all. And I don't know how long. They trade all their first-round draft picks away to New England. So, they haven't had that success in the draft quite a long time. And this is the draft that the Browns need to get right. You got 2 first-round picks, one of them being the top selection. This is something that you really can't miss on. You have to take the best player in the draft. And I believe that is Myles Garrett as the number 1 overall. And when you look at his combine numbers, he ran a 4.64. He had a 31 vertical leap. 31 vertical leap. And this is a guy that's weighed at, I think he's like at 270 pounds. Yeah, 272. 6'4.5". 4.64 at 272. That is wildly impressive to me. That is athleticism. He did have 41 vertical jump, which I still is mind-blowing to me. But is he that can't-miss prospect? I really do think he's someone that if the Cleveland Browns pass on Myles Garrett and the 49ers end up taking Myles Garrett, I'll tell you right now, the 49ers defense is way better than last year. They would be because of Myles Garrett. You know, and they invested so much in that defensive line the past 3 years anyway. You know, when you look at the 49ers defensive line, they took a first-round selection. They have Eric Armstead. They drafted DeForest Buckner. And when you add Myles Garrett with those two guys, that's a defense to be reckoned with for the next couple years. So, you know, if the Cleveland Browns, if they don't take Myles Garrett, it's going to benefit the 49ers. And if Myles Garrett does go number 1, I think the 49ers will trade down. Because if they're not really in love with Solomon Thomas, who is projected to be the number 2 overall pick, they can, if they don't like him there, or if they think they can get him later in the draft, they can probably will trade down. But, you know, Cleveland, they need talent. They need talent. This is why they are in the spot that they're in. This is why they're one of the laughing stocks in the NFL. This is why they are a punchline in the NFL. They don't have any talent, and they need talent. Myles Garrett, he has talent. They can't afford to mess up this draft. And if they pass on Myles Garrett, then, well, it's going to be one of those long seasons. And don't get me wrong, Cleveland, I don't expect Cleveland to win many games, but I do think they can get better than 2 games. I hope they don't go through a season without a win until December again. But, you know, talent, they just strictly win games. And that's what Myles Garrett can give you. He can bring talent to this defense. And, you know, when you have a strong defense, they travel well, and it help you compete. And then maybe if they can get Myles Garrett, they can get one of the top defensive players in the draft at number 12, whether it's Reuben Foster, if he's still there, maybe Jonathan Allen, if he's still there, or they can even take a flyer on one of the quarterbacks at that 12th overall selection. But I really do think Myles Garrett is a can't-miss prospect, and the Browns cannot afford to mess this one up. All right, well, another draft prospect this year is Leonard Fournette. He was one of the popular college football players during his time at LSU. Dude is an absolute bruiser. You know, he has been regarded as a blue chipper. But, you know, Jason LaConfleur of CBS Sports, you know, he heard from other scouts that Leonard Fournette is viewed as the best of the breed player in the draft. You know, he is very well in play at the number 1 overall selection with the Browns. So, Jason LaConfleur reported that Leonard Fournette can go higher in the top 5. He can go number 1. He can go number 2. I don't know if the Niners really like Leonard Fournette at number 2. I don't know if he is a scheme fit for Kyle Shanahan's offense. Chicago, maybe, but they do got Jordan Howard there. But, you know, when you can never have too many running backs on your team. And, you know, running backs, they don't typically are consistent anyway. So I can see the Browns taking Leonard Fournette. Definitely can. And, Jacksonville, I think this is the team in the top 5 that really needs him the most. Jacksonville has not been able to find a viable running back in quite some time. Honestly, I would be shocked if Leonard Fournette goes number 1 to the Browns instead of Myles Garrett. I think that would be, I wouldn't say it's foolish, but it will be shocking. And, maybe Leonard Fournette can be the guy to help change that Cleveland Browns team. He can be. Maybe he can. Maybe he can. He's definitely an upgrade on Isaiah Corral. I'll tell you that. He definitely will help any quarterback that starts for that team. He could definitely become the face of that franchise. He may make them even relevant just by him playing that team alone. It's that Adrian Peterson effect. When Adrian Peterson got drafted to the Vikings, the Vikings were relevant because of Adrian Peterson. Leonard Fournette maybe can be that player, but being a number 1 overall pick, I think that may be a little bit of a reach there. And, there's really no, top tier, offensive players in this draft. Sure, Leonard Fournette may be a top 5 pick, but there's no Andrew Luck. There's no surefire number 1 pick here. There's no Andrew Luck. There's no Peyton Manning. And I know I did say that Myles Garrett is a can't-miss prospect, but, I don't think he's a for sure first overall pick when you think about it. So, this is a very strong running back class. And if the Browns want to address the running back position, I don't think they need to go out and reach for Leonard Fournette at 1. You can actually get a running back at 12. So I don't see the Browns drafting Fournette at number 1 because they got that 12th overall pick. They can definitely get a Dalvin Cook there. And who knows, maybe Leonard Fournette could be there at 12. He may fall off the draft board, who knows. And they can definitely get a very strong running back in the second round. Joe Mixon could probably be there. We got Alvin Kamara. We don't talk about him a lot. I don't know if Christian McCaffrey will be there, but he's someone that they can consider. So I don't think the Browns are going to draft Leonard Fournette at 1. I just think by them having 2 first-round picks, I don't think it's going to happen. But definitely know if somehow the Browns pass on Myles Garrett, I would be shocked, but I wouldn't be so shocked at the same time because this is the Browns, and pretty much that's all I have to say there. But I'm telling you right now, Myles Garrett is someone that can really help a defense. Leonard Fournette is someone that can very well help an offense. So you never know. By the time the draft rolls around, these guys can be number 1 and 2. We don't know that. We don't know, but it could be that. And, with Leonard Fournette, with him weighing 12 pounds less at his pro day, really could improve his draft stock a little bit. With him being lighter, it could improve his draft stock a little bit. He came in at 240 in the combine. He still ran a 4.5. With him being lighter, maybe a little bit quicker as well. So at the end of April, when the draft rolls around, we could have Myles Garrett as the number 1 overall pick and Leonard Fournette may be projected as the number 2. We don't know. It could happen. With Jason La Canfora reporting that Leonard Fournette is going to be among a top 5 pick according to scouts, we could be looking at that. And, when Leonard Fournette was in college, I did say, he's someone that's going to be a generational talent. I won't be surprised if Leonard Fournette is in the top 5 at all. I wouldn't be. But I would be surprised if the Browns decide to pass on Myles Garrett to Leonard Fournette. But you know what? We have a few weeks to go till the draft rolls around. I believe we're like 3 weeks away. So, we're heading into that little time frame where, we're going to hear a lot of draft talk, a lot of rumors of what teams are interested in. So we got a lot to talk about, a lot to look forward to in the next few weeks. All right, well, I'm going to take my last break, and when I get back, I'm going to discuss what the NFL has done to the players that were involved in the arm wrestling tournament this past weekend. I'm also going to discuss the 49ers. Yes, it looks like that Colin Kaepernick's teammates, well, his former teammates, are surprised that he's still on side. So I will get into that a little bit when I return to the Going to Media Concepts football podcast.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to Going to Media Concepts football podcast. Well, yesterday I did briefly talk about NFL players participating in this made-for-TV arm wrestling tournament. Last week in Las Vegas, there was more than 30 current and former NFL players that participated in this arm wrestling tournament. It included Marshawn Lynch, who I've talked about for weeks and weeks, and then James Harrison was also there as well. The participants included Kenny Stills, Marquise Pouncey, Marquette King, Mario Edwards, and Patrick Chung, as well as linebacker Navarro Bowman, who said that he hasn't heard anything from the NFL. He told ESPN that, quote, "I was there, but I haven't heard anything from the league, so let's hope nothing negative comes out of it. But if it does, I'll take care of it." And, he didn't, and Bowman didn't weigh in on the repercussions of it either. And I will discuss Navarro Bowman a little bit later. But overall, it looks like that the NFL is going to find these players. They are going to find, and, it's still pending under further investigation. The league policy states that, league personnel, they're prohibited from making promotional appearances at casinos or other gambling-related establishments. So this is something that's not going to change despite the NFL having a team relocating to Vegas. So this is something that's not going to change. And I do think that, I kind of think the story has been blown out of proportion, but the reason why I want to discuss this is that maybe this is something that we may start seeing when the NFL officially comes to Las Vegas. Maybe there will be more events, promotional events that will include players at any of these sites. Because, when you have a team in Vegas, they are going to have a lot of promotional events throughout the city. A lot of cities have them all the time. Like in the Bay Area. For example, I was in San Jose a couple years ago. Well, not a couple years ago, more like 2012. And I was there to visit the San Jose State campus. And, I was it's located around the downtown area of the city of San Jose. And, I was walking in that area, and I saw a promotional poster for Aldon Smith. Aldon Smith, who was, at the time, with the San Francisco 49ers, he was going to be at this venue, and it was very nearby my hotel. So I was like, okay, I'll go see him for maybe a little bit. I got a picture with him, so I went what I wanted to do. So that's an example of a promotional appearance for the venue. So I do think a lot of things like that could happen in Vegas, especially when the Raiders officially come by. Ironically enough, Aldon Smith is on the Raiders now after I just mentioned that. But, I do think it's something that could have a little bit of an impact in future events that has to pertain from NFL players in Las Vegas. So that's something that I really do think is interesting for the future. But overall, I really do think this story was kind of blown out of proportion a little bit. It's just NFL players, they're participating in this event. And, according to Navarro Bowman, it was for a very good cause. So hopefully they let this one go. And that's according to Navarro Bowman in his statement. But, speaking of Navarro Bowman and the San Francisco 49ers, he was one of the players that was surprised that Colin Kaepernick still remains unsigned. And, Carlos Hyde, who's been a running back for the team for the past 3 seasons, he said he was surprised that he is unsigned. And, Carlos Hyde, he told ESPN, quote, "I am surprised. I've seen some quarterbacks that got signed that Cap is way better than, in my opinion. But I'm not a GM. I'm not a head coach. So that's out of my league," end quote. So when you see a lot of these quarterbacks that have got signed before Kaepernick did, sure, Kaepernick is better than most of those quarterbacks. He still has a lot of talent left to be a starter. He definitely will be a perfect fit for Houston Texans, but for unrelated football reasons, I don't think he will go there. And I do think that he will be a perfect, well, I wouldn't say perfect fit, but he definitely will. He could start for Cleveland. I can see that happening because, Hugh Jackson was interested in coaching Colin Kaepernick a few years ago before Jackson took over that Cleveland Browns job. But it looks like that, with the 49ers opening their offseason program, and it's the first time that Kaepernick will not be there. And, the 49ers are probably not going to re-sign him. They're probably not. Kyle Shanahan said they wanted a different. He didn't fit the scheme. So, for that, okay, if he doesn't fit the scheme, then why would you have him? So he doesn't fit the scheme there. They have Matt Barkley and Brian Hoyer. They're probably going to address the quarterback position in the draft. But when you overall look at what his teammates said, that they're surprised that he is signed, they've been in the locker room with him. Some of the guys that's still there, like Navarro Bowman, played in the Super Bowl with Kaepernick. So, 17 free agent quarterbacks have either signed with new teams or re-signed with their previous teams. T.J. Yates on Monday signed with the Buffalo Bills, and Matt McGloin landed with the Philadelphia Eagles. So those are 2 guys that are worse than Kaepernick, but are signed to another team. So, I have said this. I have talked about Kaepernick on the show before. I did say that I wasn't ready to say that he was being blackballed, but, I can officially say it now because, when you see guys like T.J. Yates, Matt McGloin signing a free agent deal before Kaepernick does, something's a little fishy there. Something's a little fishy there. He might be blacklisted from the NFL for, being in the public eye for his political stance and his protests. So, but we may have to wait till after the draft for Kaepernick to sign with the team. And if Kaepernick is not signed by July, or if he's not signed by June, he probably will not play next year. And that's unfortunate because I still think he has talent. He can definitely help a team win. I think he can be a good fit for the Texans. I think he can definitely start for the Browns. He can be a really solid backup for a lot of teams in the league. But, I guess teams they're not interested. They're just not interested. All right, well, that's going to do it for me. I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow. Anthony should be back tomorrow as well. We will discuss any type of news over the next 24 hours. As always, Jeremiah Martinez. Thank you for tuning in to the Going to Me Concepts Football Podcast. You guys have a great day and have a pleasant tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.